Joy. Joy is what baseball has brought so many of us over the years. And right now, the joy is in knowing that you will be able to see baseball. Where, you ask? Well, we've got answers. It's the DLLS Rangers Podcast. Yeah, we might even pluralize both game and TV. Games on TVs all over the Metroplex, like 16.5 million of them, we hope. Rangers television contract and the whole thing has come together, and one of the guys who helped put it together is with us today. We've got Jim Cochrane. He's the executive vice president of the team and the chief business officer of the team. It's Jim with me, John Radigan, Jeff Wilson over there. We've got the Queen in for the Prophet today. The Prophet's a little under the weather, so Jeff and I will be on our best behavior, not because of you, Jim, but because of the Queen, because I tell you, she'll crack a whip on us. So anyway, man, it's great to have you. We appreciate it because I know you have been busy getting this done.
Yeah, it's been real busy. I appreciate you guys having me today. Excited to be here and talk about this a little bit.
Yeah, so let's talk about, well, first, you know what? I want, because a lot of our chatters and our people who watch every day don't know much about you yet. You've been with the team for 28 years. And just give us a little thumbnail of your career and your time with the Rangers.
Yeah, I started as an intern in 1997 in selling partnerships. So all the signage you see, the name on the building, things like that. Moved up to chief revenue officer a few years ago, oversaw all of our revenue efforts, ticketing and things like that. And ownership asked me if I'd take on additional responsibilities here as we move into kind of this new realm of Rangers baseball.
That's you might have the longest title in the Rangers realm. I mean, it's executive vice president and chief business officer. I mean, you can shorten it EVP and CBO, but man, it's a mouthful, but congratulations. I mean, that's all these people want to know is how much money the Rangers have.
Well, we're working on getting as much of it as we can. We like to provide CY and Ross with the resources to put a great team on the field, and they've done so this offseason. We're excited about it.
For sure.
So this process of getting this TV deal done, there, again, as you know, I was, knee deep in the Bally thing and as unhappy as anyone, right, that nobody could see the games because all the work we're doing is sort of going for naught, if you will. But obviously I had a front row seat to all of that. And I know the uncertainty for the team and the organization was as frustrating as any part of it. Yes?
Yeah, no question. We go back 18, 24 months, uncertainty with the previous situation. And we sat down and started looking at it and saying, what do we want to do coming out of this? We didn't know what our options would be, but we started looking at it and we had two guiding principles. And they were, we've got to make sure that as many Rangers fans as possible can see the games. And of course, there's a revenue component that we had to work on as well. Yeah. And so everything we did when we sat down and started kind of making our decision as to how we wanted to move forward was with those two principles in mind. And, at some point in the process, our principal owner, Ray Davis, said, hey, let's do this ourselves because it does provide us the certainty that you were talking about now that we can control it. And it gives us certainty into the future, and it allows us to go do deals and sign free agents and things along those lines. And as you know, those are multi-year agreements, and we needed that certainty as we move forward.
I was at the press conference yesterday, and so were you. And, Neil Liebman said, this isn't a celebration. This is a time to get the word out. And then Dave Raymond said, well, I don't know. It is kind of time to celebrate a little bit. I mean, it's the culmination of a lot of work. But then I talked to Angie Swint. I was like, Angie, you guys, why don't you take a week off? She goes, no, now the work starts. So So what's next? I mean, you have this thing, and Ray Davis said it too. Well, now we've got to execute.
Yeah, and that's what it is. And you mentioned Angie Swint. She's our senior vice president of broadcasting, and she's been doing a lot of the work on this. Of course, you guys know Rich Rice, our SVP of communications now, and so they've been working on all this, working really hard to put all of this together. So we're excited about it, but Ray's right. Now we got to execute, and there's going to be a lot of eyes on us. We know that. We're excited about it. We got some fun things planned for the broadcast this year, and we've been working behind the scenes for a while. So yesterday was a moment to kind of tell everybody what's happening. Yeah. We made the victory announcement a couple weeks ago, and then now we were able to tell folks other ways you'll be able to watch Rangers going forward. And I saw a lot of comments. People are excited about it.
Yeah, so as you start to dive into this, and I don't want to get too deep into the weeds of sort of the production of the game, but the difference here is previously an outside vendor, Fox and then Bally, had produced the games, done all the technical things and brought the whole broadcast together for you guys. Now those people all work for the Texas Rangers. And they work, obviously they work with you and for you, but a lot of them are the same people that were with Bally. So can we expect the production, right? Because it is a slick looking broadcast, especially with Fox, right?
Yep.
Can we expect the production values to sort of be the same? Is that the goal?
We expect them to be better.
Good.
We expect to provide some enhancements to the broadcast that maybe fans haven't seen before, and we look forward to telling everybody about that or showing everybody that as we move forward. But yeah, when we sat down, Angie and I sat down with some others and said, if we're starting from scratch, what does the broadcast look like? What should one of the best broadcasts in baseball be? And those are the things that we started, out to say, hey, let's put this in the broadcast.
I think everybody was surprised when Elvis Andrus walked into the room and said, hey, I'm doing the pregame show. Now, he's not going to do a bunch of them, but we all know Elvis talks. We know how popular he is. It just seems like that's potentially something that fans will love, and in future seasons, as Elvis loves it, he could be a regular guy.
Yeah, we wanted to reimagine the pre and post game show and make it something like you see in some of these other places where people are tuning in just for pregame shows, right?
Yeah.
And so we wanted to do that a little bit too. And as you mentioned, Elvis can talk. He's a fan favorite. People are going to love seeing him, and so we'll get him out there and see how it goes with television and what he does there. But we're excited about having him as part of what we're doing here.
So let's take a look at the broadcast lineup and see, who's who and what's what. And again, I think Jeff tweeted it out. Most of the faces are familiar. And when you see, Eric Nadel, if you remember, you don't see him on TV very often, but Matt Hicks and Jared Sandler. And of course, Dave Raymond. And you see Mike Bassick, our buddy who's been on here. David Murphy is on there. There's Elvis. Emily will take a slightly lesser role by her own choice. And then there's a new young sideline reporter named Laura Stickles. And the word I hear on Laura, Jim, is that she basically blew everybody away in the interview process when you guys talked to her.
Yeah, she's very personable. We're excited to have her joining us. She comes from the Boston area. She was doing AAA games for the Red Sox, AAA team in Worcester. Done some hockey as well, but we think she's a great addition to what we're trying to accomplish in our broadcast.
Yeah, we talked to her. The beat writers talked to her for, 5 or 10 minutes, and she just it just seems like she's going to have fun, But also, she's preparing. She's going to have to spring training, get to know the club a little bit more. She told us she flew back to Boston last night, is packing today, driving tomorrow and Saturday with her dad, who came in from California, and she's already got a spot here in Dallas. So I mean, this is a full-time commitment for her. I mean, she's talking 120 games, depending on what Emily wants to do. But it's going to be a new face. But it seems like she's going to bring not that Emily is stale at all, but it seems like maybe a fresh perspective that a younger viewer would see or something.
She's very ambitious, and we're excited to have her as part of that. She's very prepared too, as you mentioned. She does her homework, so we're excited about that. She did meet with a lot of us in the front office. We were very impressed with her, and think the fans are going to love getting to know her as well.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'll tell you this, and you guys obviously know Emily's a good friend of mine. I know she's a good friend of both of yours. There's not a lot of not many people from whom Laura can learn that are better than Emily. Emily is singular in the way that she approaches this sideline gig, and all Laura has to do is kind of watch her and replicate some of what she does to make it a very unique. Emily's just unique in the way she does and has always approached this thing.
Yeah, and we're glad Emily's still part of the broadcast and that Laura can learn from her as she steps into this new role. And, we're going to utilize Emily in other ways as well, with sponsors and season ticket holders and people along those lines. She's got such a connection to our fans, and we want to tap into that and continue to do so.
Yeah, she said, Laura said that she'd spoken to Emily, and Emily couldn't have been nicer and more willing to help her out, which does not come as a surprise for those of us who know Emily well. And Laura also said, John, not to pat ourselves on the back, that she's been watching our show to help learn the team.
Who doesn't? Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty obvious.
Everybody watches our show. So no, I'm kidding about that. We want more people to. I don't know if I've mentioned you guys yet. We love you. We want you to chat with us. Keep the chat going. We're going to ask some questions that you have for Jim coming up a little later on in the program. And like us and subscribe to us. That's always a big deal too. So anyway, going back to this, Jim, as far as the actual carriers for the games, the one thing I know that I keep hearing from people in the organization, and it's been out there officially as well as unofficially, there's a lot of them now, but you still hope for more. You're still working on more.
Yeah, no question. So when we set out to talk about this and figure out how we wanted to do it, we kind of viewed it as a three-pronged approach. So we made the announcement with Victory Plus. They've been doing a great job with the stars. Neil Grunninger at APMC and Jason Walsh, who they do a great job over there. And so we're excited to be with them. So that's the digital component that's new for Rangers fans. And then, of course, the traditional cable and satellite carriers. DirecTV has been a great partner of the club for a long time and carrying Rangers games. And so DirecTV Stream, Uverse, and then Spectrum are the ones that we announced yesterday. We are still in negotiations with other cable and satellite providers. And we expect to announce those as we lead up to opening day. And then, of course, the over-the-air games. So we partnered with Nexstar. That's the CW33 here in Dallas-Fort Worth. And they've got 17 other stations in our home television territory and then we partnered with Gray to fill in the gaps there as well. And so 26 of the 31 metered markets in our 5-state region will carry the 15 over-the-air games. We're excited about that. So free television, and for those fans who maybe have another carrier and get the ESPN games, the Big Fox games, the FS1 games, they'll be able to pick up a few more Rangers games as part of that as well.
Yeah, and so, Kat, let's put up the where you can watch graphic in case our viewers out there want to screenshot this and know that's basically everybody that Jim just mentioned with the three prongs. You've got the over-the-air, Channel 33, the streaming on Victory, and where you can find Victory. And then, of course, the current cable and satellite providers, of which there could be more of those coming in the time ahead.
And, John, one other thing here is that I think there's some confusion amongst fans as to what is in market and out of market. So just to describe what our home television territory is, it is the entire state of Texas, all of Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and a slice of eastern New Mexico. If you are in those areas, Victory Plus is certainly your option. It's available there. I know people have had questions too about, will all the games be on Victory Plus? All of the locally produced games will be on Victory Plus. That means 150, 155 games plus 8 spring training games potentially, if they want to pick all of those up as well, will be on there. They will not have the national games.
Okay.
So that's where everybody on Victory can go. You've seen the pricing out there. It's $100 for the full season. I think with that number of games, it's 62 cents a game.
Wow.
It's, there's value there in what the folks at Victory are doing. And then we mentioned the traditional cable and satellite folks that'll have it. And we're going to add some more there too. We're probably not going to end up with everybody though. And that's okay. That's why we have the Victory deal. And, some carriers don't see the value in our content. And if they don't, then we're probably not going to have deals with them.
Yeah.
Well, and then outside the area, blackouts will apply. So you just use the MLB app. Is that?
Yeah. So we had somebody that said, "Hey, I live in North Carolina. I'm a Rangers fan. How do I watch the games?" And MLB.TV is your way to do that, as it has been.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's good. There's so many ways to watch it and so many options and so many questions still. So we know you've got some. We've still got some. That's why we asked Jim to come and join us for the show. He was kind enough to do that. More questions and certainly more answers from Jim coming as we continue on the DLLS Rangers podcast.
So the East-West Shrine game, it's tonight.
Yeah.
Tonight at AT&T Stadium. They did their media day yesterday at Globe Life Field. Tons of players out there with kids who are beneficiaries of the work that the Shriners do. I saw some Shriners dancing with the fez bouncing around. Anyway, there's still a chance to get tickets. 7 o'clock tonight. Tickets, $20. All right? And I think there's a buy one, get one situation or buy two, get one. Anyway, if you're looking for a chance to see tomorrow's stars in the NFL right now as they're sharpening their resumes for the NFL, these great college players who are out there, the Sanders kids, the quarterback from Syracuse who kind of helped them revitalize. He transferred from Ohio State, all kinds of players. So get out there, East-West Shrine Bowl, Cowboys alumni from this game, Brian Anger and Rico Dowdle. So get out there tonight, East-West Shrine Bowl.
Should be a great time. And the great news is, there's nothing like a sunny day. And it's starting to get sunny. After all that rain we had, I was like, man, I'm never going to need my Shady Rays again. But here I am. When I drive out of here, I'm going to need the Shady Rays. You can get a pair of these, just like these, or like the ones you see on the screen, or any one of their other awesome styles. And they're polarized, and they're inexpensive. That's the greatest thing. You don't have to bust the bank to get these Shady Rays. The other thing is, I'm terrible on these. I'm always putting them like this, and then I bend over, and they fall out on the floor at Home Depot, and all those kinds of things. So they're almost indestructible. I haven't been able to break them. I haven't been able to lose them. And even if I do break them, I just send them back to Shady Rays, and they give me some new ones. So they have a great warranty, and they'll repair them if they can. So anyway, we're big fans of Shady Rays. Go to shadyrays.com. Use the code DLLS to get 35% off your polarized sunglasses. All right, Jim Cochrane is our guest. He's the Executive Vice President and Chief Business Officer. I do like CBO. We've taken to calling CY POBO, right? President of Business Operations. I mean, we don't have time for these long titles, Jim. You see what I'm saying? It's only an hour show. So anyway, Jim's here. He's over a lot of things with the Texas Rangers, but lately, much of his time has been occupied in putting together this TV deal because it is so important, obviously, for the present, Jim, and we've talked about that, but for the future. But knowing TV and having been around TV, like this regional sports network thing, first of all, man, it was great when it started, right? I mean, it was crazy. The money was flowing. Everything was great. And I suppose we always knew that at some point the regional sports network concept would go away, but it went so fast, right? I mean, it was like they pulled a plug, So this network that you're doing, is it the thing, or is there something else that could be the thing for how Rangers fans will watch TV in the future?
Yeah, this is the thing for the next several years. And of course, as you mentioned, it changed quickly. And so we don't know what it looks like 5-10 years down the road from now, but we're trying to put ourselves in a position to be able to bring the games to the fans. That was the goal number one, is get our games to as many fans as possible, and then take care of the revenue side as well.
Yeah. Seems like you guys are kind of guinea pigs.
Yeah, a little bit. There's a lot of eyes on us right now, and so we talk about that a lot, but we also talk about internally that there's not a bigger project that we're working on this offseason than this one.
Yeah.
Outside, of course, what CY and Ross are doing to improve the team, and they were active, and we're excited about that.
So is there any other team, baseball team first, that's doing it the way you're doing their television the way you're doing it?
I mean, there's teams that waded into these waters earlier. The Cubs have Marquee. The Yankees have Yes Network, of course. But since, kind of what happened with the bankruptcy with Diamond Sports, we're the first team to come out of it and doing that. And, you've seen other teams going in different directions as far as how they want to handle their TV. This coming year.
Have you talked to anybody at the Mavericks? They kind of did a similar thing over there.
Yeah, the Mavs and the Stars were in a very different situation than us because they had to do it a lot quicker than we did because just the way the timing fell and where their seasons start and whatnot. So they had to do it a lot quicker. We certainly kept eyes on what the Mavs were doing. We do know some people over there, and some of your colleagues went to work there, and we kept our eyes on that. And but we decided what we wanted to do internally and set out to accomplish that. We think we're off to a good start, but as Jeff mentioned, we got to execute.
All right, questions. Get your questions in. We already have, a ton. We'll start. I think a lot of the Victory questions were answered when you said the games are going to be on Victory. All the locally broadcast ones are going to be on Victory.
Yeah, and just as a quick aside to that, so the point is we don't yet know how many national games there will be. And that's the difference between 150 or 155. Is it 12? Am I right? 12 is the most.
It's 17 now.
17 now. Okay.
So there's, of course, national deals with Roku and Apple TV.
Yeah.
And then, of course, ESPN games, big Fox games, FS1 games, TBS games, I believe.
Yeah.
So there's a number of ways we could get selected.
Yeah.
Those schedules haven't come out yet or haven't been announced yet, so we don't know exactly where we'll fall on that.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess there's one Sunday night game that's already been announced, like July 6th.
That's right.
At San Diego.
Yeah. Okay, so the two main questions that I think we've been getting all week are Hulu and YouTube TV. What are the prospects for those two outlets?
Yeah, so I won't get into specifics on discussions with the other carriers that we're talking to, right? We're talking to everybody. We want to make the games as available as possible. And, as I mentioned earlier, we're not going to end up with deals with everybody.
Yeah.
If we don't, then Victory's your option, or the over-the-air games are your option. And, as always, we've got a Hall of Famer calling radio, Eric Nadell and Matt Hicks as well. So there are options. But again, if we don't have a deal with a specific cable, satellite, or MVPD provider, it's because they didn't see value in our content.
So all right. So if people weren't on the Spectrum Uverse DirecTV group, if they're not in that group, should they immediately change everything, or should they just have a little patience here and wait to see what happens with perhaps their provider?
Yeah, have some patience with your provider, and we have deals, we have negotiations that are going on currently, and if we can get those across the finish line, then we'll announce what those are and take it from there.
All right,
your intel has like the cable providers and the satellite providers that you have we talk about the difference between the 3 million that were able to get the games under Bally and so forth, and the 16.5 million that are out there. Do most of those 16.5 million have access to the carriers that you? They obviously all do to Victory, but I mean those cable groups and those satellite groups.
Well, they all do to DirecTV, as far as I know,
good
as well.
Point. Yeah, good point.
I've been a DirecTV customer
Us
for
too.
a long time, because I like watching Rangers games.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
But again, we're trying to meet our fans where they are, right? And so, as we've seen, cord cutting and things along those lines, we're trying to make that happen as well. But there are options for fans.
Yeah. It just really seems like the Victory, if it doesn't work out with the ones I mentioned, Victory is just like it seems like just a great option, an affordable option. I mean, $100.
Yeah.
And a lot of our fans already have the app because they're watching Stars.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I know the folks at Victory are working on some places where they're maybe not available, to solve that problem before the baseball season starts as well.
Yeah, that's great. All
right, I'm looking for more questions. Well, you're not going to answer that one. Okay. Or that one. Okay. The $100 is the big one. So it just, as I keep looking at this deal, you can't make everybody happy, but it seems like you're going to make 95% of people happy, or 90% of the people happy, for the fan base happy. It just seems like it's what you said at the very time, one of your missions, make sure the fans have the access. It just seems like you guys probably aren't patting yourself on your back yet, but it seems like this has been a success.
Yeah, I mean, so we're happy with what we've done so far. We want to get additional deals done because there's even smaller cable outlets and outer market. Well, I don't want to say outer market, in other states that we need to get deals done with as well. Some in Texas as well, and some of the big ones that you've mentioned that we'll have conversations with all of them, and again, whether we can get a deal done, that remains to be seen. But we do provide alternate options if we can.
So generally speaking, here's a question from Harry: how will the revenue gained help the on-field product? I'm sure that everybody gets a slice of the pie, but when it comes to signing ball players, it seems like a lot of this money will go toward that.
Yeah, and look, the TV business in baseball, it's one of our larger revenue streams. That's why this was important for us to try to create some certainty for it going forward. And again, we want to keep that revenue stream where it was, so we can provide CY and Ross with the resources they need so that we can be competitive. But if you look at our payroll for this year, it's very competitive in the American League. We're excited about the squad that's been put together, and we're ready to get after it and get back to winning baseball.
So I don't know if you can answer this one, but we know that it was $110 million ish that Fox Valley was contracted to pay you in rights fees every year. So it seems logical to me, and I don't know if you can answer that. You guys did the math and said, well, we can make that or more. A, can you answer that? B, is that true?
I'm not going to get into the financials of where we are, but we're comfortable with the situation that we put together here as far as, at least for the next several years and how we go about doing this. We're happy with where we landed.
I think I know the answer to this. The streaming region and the cable satellite, the territory is the same.
Correct. It's the same. So again, it's all of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and about 10 counties in New Mexico, the eastern slicing.
Yeah, and it's pretty awesome, really, that you get all of Texas when there's another baseball team in Texas. And I've actually talked to John Blake about that a week or so ago. I said, we still got the whole state. He's like, yeah. I remember when there was a line drawn at Temple, and only north of Temple got to see Ranger games.
Yeah, and our that home television territory that I just described is defined by Major League Baseball. We don't define.
Yeah, no,
that.
I know it. Yeah.
So and we are the only professional team in the state that has Texas on our chest. So
that's right. Yeah.
We do represent the whole state.
That's it. Yeah.
I think the answer to this is a question from Andrew. Will the $100 season pass include any special content like behind the scenes and insider access? It will, right? There will be.
Yeah, so it's we're working on those kind of things and making that available, that content available to Victory, and it'll be up to them, where they put it.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose some of it could end up in front of the paywall, but I assume some of it'll land behind that too. But that's questions for those guys.
Yeah, another question I had. This part surprised me a little bit, and maybe this is something that the Foxes and the Bally's of the world could have done. But as I read the press release, it said that there will, the Rangers channels will come on that time for the pregame show and pretty much go off after the pregame show. Now, again, I know from all my years at Fox and Bally, we had a whole day of programming to fill. So is this new, or is this something that had always been available and Fox originally just chose not to do it that way?
Yeah, so we won't be on 24/7 to start
Mm-hmm.
with, right? We'll be on for, as you mentioned, the pregame show, the game, and the postgame show. And then as this evolves and we get down the road, we'll see if there's additional content, and if the cable and satellite providers want to light us up more often, then those will be discussions we have at that time.
Gotcha.
But right now, we want to make sure that our focus is to make sure fans can watch the games.
Is that something that can happen in season? I mean, could you bring back Rangers Insider as just an example?
There's going to be content that we'll provide, and we'll make it available to the folks we need to make it available to. And if they want to put it out there, then there's opportunity for them to potentially do that. And then we'll see if they want to do that.
Yeah. And then just as far as the change, I don't know if it's much of a change, but Mike Bassick in there for 100 games. David Murphy still involved in the broadcast. Of course, Dave Raymond. We mentioned Elvis already, but it's a nice. I think personally, when you start with Dave Raymond, you have a guy who's really good at the chemistry part of a broadcast booth. But these are nice broadcast booths that are full of knowledgeable and very communicative former ball players.
Yeah, and folks that all have a connection to the Rangers are excited about being part of the club and making our broadcast great. A couple former players there on the analyst side that obviously have insight into how the game's played and what they did when they were, playing baseball and whatnot. But what we wanted to create here was some consistency as well, right? And you mentioned Laura being the field reporter and the number of games she's going to have. We wanted, when our fans tune in every night, we want them to know who's on the broadcast and be comfortable with the people that they're listening to.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just seems like, again, this is fantastic. I just think after years of, we had to switch to DirecTV when all of it broke down. But, just hearing from people like, I haven't seen a Rangers game in a long time. It's like, now they get to. And it's a good team. You guys just won a World Series without a lot of the viewing audience. Obviously, the playoff games are all national TV. But the 162 leading up to it, they didn't see it. It seems like an opportunity for you guys to also grow the fan base a little bit or bring fans back who might have been alienated.
Yeah, some of that started back in COVID too, and access to the players and whatnot. And the team turned over a little bit at that time, and then we added free agents as well. And so, part of what we want to do is try to bring some of the personalities from the players to the fans as part of the broadcast, and get our fan base back and involved. And one thing we didn't mention is that we talked about this at the press event yesterday, but we're going to do something unique with the pre and post game show. And make it a simulcast.
Right.
And Jared Sandler is going to quarterback that. We're excited about it. We talked a little bit of, earlier in our show here about, trying to get people to tune in for things like that because we're going to have some fun with it. We mentioned Elvis being a part of it, but we're going to have Jared quarterback that. We're excited about that. He'll still have involvement in the radio broadcast as well. He'll still do a handful of games on television when Dave needs a break, but we're excited that Jared's part of the crew too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Fantastic. Glad you mentioned that. We appreciate so much you coming in, Jim. It's been great chatting with you. Great having you. And obviously we'll see you around the ballpark and spring training and everywhere else.
Yeah, appreciate you having me and look forward to seeing you guys at the ballpark and getting our games out to the fans this year.
Yeah, fantastic. Jim Cochrane answering lots of your questions, hopefully all of them. And we've got more to talk about on this show as we and Jeff and I sort of dissect all of this, get to our batting cleanup segment as well. It's all next on the DLLS Rangers Podcast.
Hey, John, why don't you take the first one?
Will do. Yes, I will take the first one, which is Game Time. And we want you to be a part of Game Time. It is such a great app. It is really the perfect way for you to buy tickets. You can get them for cheaper by using our code, but you can also wait till the last minute. And using the Game Time app, you can get things for as much as 60% off. So it's really a wise deal to go get the Game Time app and get yourself tickets to any event. Rangers games, obviously, coming up. Mavs games, Stars games, concerts. I think we saw that the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo was on there. There's all kinds of tonight's East-West Shrine game, right?
Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl, if you got $6,000 for a ticket. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with this Game Time app. We encourage you to do that so that you can save some money. And you'll save $10 off your first purchase with the DLLS code at thegametime.com.
Hey, you have some of the ice shakers right next to you. So why don't you shake those up? Ice Shaker, a new partner of ours. We really appreciate it. The Gronkowski brothers. Rob, what's the other one's name?
I don't know Rob's brother's name.
Anyway, he was a tight end too. I think he went to Arizona as well. Anyway, these things are great. If you work out, you have these. You want your protein shake either beforehand or for recovery. You have those plastic shakers like I have that didn't cost much, and you shake it up. Okay, great. This thing's metal. All right, you can get it personalized. It's only $35, and it's just the new way. And you can't drink those things warm. Lord knows you gotta chug them, and you want them cold. And Ice Shaker is the way to do it. So please avail yourselves to their discount. I think that says 25% off. When you use ALLCITY 25 at iceshaker.com.
Yeah, it's a wise choice. And, they do have this agitator, by the way, in there. I don't know if we showed you that, but there's a little agitator, too.
But it doesn't bounce around. It doesn't make a noise.
No, it's not like a can of spray paint making a noise with a metal ball in a metal can. So, anyway, that was great. It was great having Jim Cochrane in here. And, just a wealth of information and obviously – so much work has gone into this process.
Yeah, I'm sure he's been busy. Neil Liebman, who probably gives the high sign, the thumbs up or the thumbs down after consulting with Ray Davis. But there are just so many people involved in this, and Angie Swint, who took over for John Blake as the head of broadcasting, and it's just it's such a big deal to be able to broadcast these games to everybody. And I think the thing to stress from that conversation we had with Jim is that other carriers and providers are coming. I saw somebody, he didn't answer the YouTube Hulu question, but we've kind of had some intel on that, where YouTube TV doesn't seem as likely because they really don't do regional sports.
No.
And Hulu seems like there's a better chance. They're just in a merger negotiation with Fubo. So wait for that to shake out. But it just seems like by opening day, there's an opportunity for others. There's, people have Dish TV still. All right. Dish TV. I'm sure the Rangers are talking to them or have talked to them. Just a number of these outlets, these providers, whatever you want to call them. I don't know. There's probably a technical term.
Yeah, and I'll say this: Dish TV is a little bit like YouTube in that their interest has waned or soured on the regional sports idea, right?
Uh-huh.
So they don't have very many of them. I'm sure the Rangers are working it, but if you're a Dish person, I had Dish for the longest time, and then when they dropped, regional sports, that's when I switched to DirecTV, and now I've been with DirecTV. It's got to be probably 20 years now that I've been with DirecTV, but. Dish got out of that business. They just didn't. And I love the way Jim said it. Like, if we're not on a station, one of your favorites, it's probably because they aren't interested in our content, right? It's not us, right? It's them. They just, and the YouTube TV is a classic example. Look around. They've got very, very few. I think a couple of regional sports things up in the Northeast, but that's all they have throughout the entire country on YouTube TV, and Dish Network's kind of the same way. So, again, I just me. I don't have to be official like Jim. Steer clear of them. Hulu and Fubo are again probably soon going to form a new company. Now, the games haven't been on Hulu, right? But they have been on Fubo. So if you have Hulu and you figure that Fubo's coming over, you might well get them. I don't think that they're going to come over and drop something like, regional sports from Fubo. Fubo's name, they've made their name in local sports.
Okay. Well, good. Some questions that we didn't get around to asking Jim. And again, as he said, there's an opportunity for more programming down the line.
Yes.
The priority's been get the games on, pre and post game, all that stuff. So there have been a lot of questions about minor league games. And I would think that's a potential, although those are tricky to do because a lot of times they're in the same window, as a Rangers game.
Yes.
The same time as when they start. Maybe one of those crazy 11 a.m. games where they, it's field trip day or whatever out at Frisco. Potentially, if the team's on the road, maybe, I don't know. But it seems like while there's an opportunity to do them, it would have to be tape delayed. You may have to expand your crew a little bit. So I don't know if those make a ton of sense, but they have done them in the past. They've had some Frisco games in the past.
And a magazine show that encompasses all of the minor league teams, or even one for each team, seems like a pretty logical choice as well.
It sure does. And that could be a 30-minute show, and
absolutely,
put it on, do one
weekly,
put
it on a couple times a month, whatever it would be. Yeah,
sure, yeah. And then my Steve Cook, who I believe is the manager of the Bonafide Suitors, he's been in there. He's one of the guys who asked about minor league games. He's asked some good questions. That one that I thought was interesting was he was going to ask Jim is, do you think minor league small market teams will start sharing equity in their clubs to build payroll? That sounds interesting. They're on a lot of, I think, are the Packers the only publicly traded pro franchise?
Yeah.
I don't know. That seems like something that probably needs to be explored, though, if you want to be good at least. But I don't know if these owners want to give up. These
I mean,
teams.
like the Packers are owned by the group, right?
Yeah.
Not by a person.
Yeah.
And so the people that own these other teams are like,
Yeah.
I worked hard to make these billions that allowed me to have enough money to buy one of these things. I don't know if I want to share that and sell stock to that. Although obviously all these same guys sell stock to their companies.
Yeah, right.
And it helps, not all of them, but a lot of them.
Yeah.
And it helps their companies a lot because of what? Revenue. It's exactly what Jim used to do. He was the chief revenue officer before he got this big promotion. So
yeah, and some historic questions about historic games. Would they be available? I don't know if they'd be available on Victory Plus. I think that would be something that the Rangers would do. And if Victory wanted to, I guess, but it would have to be like a simulcast. And I guess this is all simulcasting, but in a way.
Yeah, I think that maybe Victory would enter into a situation where you'd pay, right? It's not just going to be out there. But if you're interested, they can figure out through the library of historic games, okay, yeah, you want to watch this game right now? Well, we'll put it up for you. It's sort of by request. I know that's one of the things that advertisers and broadcasters, for that matter, love about Victory as a concept, is it's so adaptable to the individual, right?
Yeah.
We can give you whatever you want right now, and you whatever you want. And somebody asked about this the other day. Someday down the road, we could give, somebody over here wants the broadcast with all of the statistical information put on the screen at the same time, and you might want the broadcast with none of that, but with the ability to call for camera shots that aren't available on the other broadcast. And I could see those types of things being available, not anytime real soon, but that's the future. That's what broadcasters are thinking about towards what they could do in the future.
Yeah, and on the questions about historic games, that could be another, I don't know, you condense them into an hour and a half broadcast window. And yes, they would have access to those, especially the ones that they. And,
we used to do in the Fox days, I think it was at either 11 a.m. or noon every day, we did a recap of the previous night's Rangers game.
Just condensed it.
And it was amazing because you'd think, and we do it, I think we did it in 1 hour, and you'd think, oh, man, they must not show anything. We showed a lot. I mean, it was amazing
stuff for sure.
How much you can cut out of a baseball game. We still got in. It wasn't just like the highlights. It wasn't just like the scoring plays. We showed the better part of every inning of those games. So, that'd be something. That'd be how they do historic games, I think.
Yeah, and then Steve Cook, can you watch on a smartphone on the road and family watch at home simultaneously on Victory Plus? I don't know that question, but I would think so.
I would think so too. I mean, I think any app, the app that you have downloaded to any of your devices, they'll all get it at the same time. I'd be shocked if that's not something that's possible. That does work with the Stars? Yeah. So, we've got John sitting in, filling in for the Queen, who's filling in for the Prophet. And he does our Stars show. And, of course, they are on Victory Plus. So, yes, the answer is yes, you can do that because his Stars people know that you can do that. So, yeah, Dad, you can be sitting somewhere watching the Stars game on the road. Again, you've got to be in the region.
In the region, right.
If you're in the baseball region, you could be in your, somewhere in Oklahoma doing business, and the family could be home, watching a game on TV. But you could also have your oldest one is out at a softball game and wants to watch the game on her phone, and she could do that too.
Yeah. Prophet and Queen. I've been thinking about a nickname for John Anderson.
We need one.
John Anderson.
Yeah.
So, there's a famous country singer, John Anderson.
Yeah.
And he sings a song that's called The Black Sheep of the Family. So I think we're going to call John Black Sheep.
Black Sheep, I like that. Oh, he's giving it a thumbs down. Okay. We may have to look at the rest of the discology from John Anderson.
Wild and Blue.
Was it?
Wild and Blue, but that's too much. That's too much. Seminole Wind, that's too much.
Yeah.
straight
come on.
tequila night.
Wow,
We could call him
you're
tequila.
pretty.
We could call him tequila.
Yeah, you're. Thumbs up on tequila. You're pretty familiar with the John Anderson library of songs.
Yeah. So
That's
anyway,
fantastic. We're working on it.
This is. I really love this show. I love the one with Mark McLemore last week. I thought it was great. The Dave show was great. This has been a really a good one too, because it's like this guy can give the answers.
Yes,
such that he's willing to give. Obviously, business negotiations, you don't want to mess with those, but I thought that another key point he made was don't go out and rush and change your provider just yet. Give the Rangers a little more time, and they might have an announcement in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The lawyers are just finishing up right now, so stay patient. Maybe when it gets to middle March, then maybe you want to not push the panic button, but consider changing.
Yeah. At least know where it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, at least have your finger near it. We've got more coming. It's our cleanup segment coming up as we continue to talk baseball, and there's some pretty interesting nuggets in the batting cleanup segment coming next on the DLLS Rangers podcast. So you should become a diehard. We think it's such a good thing to do, and even when Jim was here, he was talking about things that'll be behind the paywall. Like that has just become part of the vernacular of what we say each and every day. We know there are things behind the paywall. I saw where one of our competitors for, and again, this is a competitor to The Athletic that doesn't have a Rangers beat writer in town, but they were offering this very special deal of $1 per, $10 per week. Was that what it was? Anyway, I did the math and I was like, oh my gosh, ours is like way cheaper than that, and we are offering a local beat writer in every sport, and that is, and sometimes multiple local beat writers in every sport. So you need to get to the diehard and become a diehard. It's not all you get. You get a free T-shirt if you become a diehard.
Yeah.
You also get 20% off our events. Don't forget February 6th coming up. I think it's sold out, but there's a COSM event for the Dallas Mavericks, a watch along. So there's so many things and so many reasons to be a diehard. We encourage you to do that today.
Yeah, and I don't know why you wouldn't. Just based on what you said, if you're a sports fan in this area, there's not a better value. There really isn't. You get all of our content, and you get a free shirt.
Yeah.
At store.allcitynetwork.com.
Yeah, now this is a rare day.
We're not wearing
neither
any
one
merch.
of us.
Yeah.
Neither one. Yeah.
Yeah. I am though sporting a shirt from our old sponsors, Roback.
Oh, okay.
It's called the Old Fashioned, and indeed it is.
Oh,
an old fashioned
got
cocktail.
The bitters on there and everything.
Oh,
yeah.
it's got it all. But Store.All-City Network has it all too, as far as getting DLLS gear for your favorite sport, or just DLS gear because it's your favorite new network. So store.allcitynetwork.com.
Yeah, perfect. So time to clean things up. Let's see what we got at the top of the list here. Usually we try to make that one somewhat Ranger related. Actually, Carlos Estevez at the top of the list today. And that is somewhat Rangers related because the Rangers, or any other team it appears, could have had, well, first of all, let's say where he signed, again, according to sources.
He's gonna be in Surprise, Arizona.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
He's going to be in Surprise, Arizona, and he's going to be with the Royals. And this is not standard, typical MO for the Royals. You just don't see their name with these free agents very often, right?
Right.
And here, but they had a good year last year.
Yeah.
They really rebounded from the previous year, and so they're trying to bolster things up a little bit too. They signed Carlos Estevez, amazingly, 2 years, $22 million.
Gosh almighty. That really seems like a heck of a deal for them. And as Chris Young will tell you, that World Series team in 2015 had a dynamite bullpen. They tried to invest in the bullpen either last year or a couple of years ago. It didn't quite work out. They did sign Aroldis Chapman. Of course, that year they were kind of built to lose, which they ended up doing and trading him to the Rangers, and I'm sure by design getting a prospect that they really wanted, who is now a Cy Young contender, in Cole Reagans. If Yates at 13, Estevez at 11, it just seems like there would have been a deal there for the Rangers to pull off. Now, again, with the CBT and everything, not knowing that exact figure, gosh, it sure would be. It'll be interesting to see what that number is on opening day when I think USA Today is the one who comes out with the figures, and just see if they could have done it or not. And I don't know, but
I like you've liked it. We both do. We like, I would say after Tanner Scott was gone, he was probably my favorite other option on the list. Again, in part, and maybe even you and I were talking about it before the show, maybe even ahead of Kirby Yates, who'd had such a great year here last year. But this kid's 32 as opposed to 38.
Right.
So theoretically, I mean, not necessarily, but and he had a year almost as good as what Kirby Yates did.
You look at the one thing I could think of is he I know he finished last year at the Phillies, but he came up with the Angels and became a closer with the Angels. So maybe there's some fatigue, some familiarity with him, and maybe you didn't want to invest in a closer where there's every team has seen him. I know that the Rangers, though, some pretty big guys with the team wanted Kirby Yates back. That didn't happen. So again, it looks like, as Ross Fenstermaker said a couple weeks ago, the Rangers bullpen is on the floor. They're going with what they've got, and again, you can make changes via trade during the season, especially at the deadline when some guys will be available in all likelihood. So we'll see what happens, but with Chris Martin and then Josh Spore's coming back, and a young guy like Mark Church kind of on the rise, and a lot of people are Jacob Webb fans. So see what happens here. But it looks like for now, barring any changes here in the next, I don't know, you probably go a month, still get a good reliever over the next month and get them ready for the regular season. Seems like the Rangers are done with their bullpen.
Yeah, and one of the things that we talk about always with, let's say, a position player, we've talked about it with Jake Berger, right? Everybody, including Jake and everybody in the organization, realizes at this moment he would be, a step down defensively from what Nathaniel Lowe was, but they also feel like he can get better. He can learn, right? As Nathaniel Lowe did. Same with a closer. I mean, a closer can do the same thing. A closer can, become, if you will, a closer. He's got the stuff. He's got the ability. And every closer at some point in their career wasn't a closer. And so I think any one of these guys has the ability in them and the stuff in them to become that closer. We also talk all the time, Jeff, about how mental that role is, right?
Yeah.
Dang, you're so close now.
I wanted to be closer.
I
did as soon as Jim left, but I don't know about you. And Jim seems like a, great guy.
Yeah.
But I don't like to sit in a seat that somebody's just been sitting in.
So
I wanted it to breathe.
Wanted to let it cool a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
So
I
anyway,
don't blame you a bit.
We're good to go. We've just messed up this whole show. We had the fob for the gate.
Yeah,
and,
beautiful. It's beautiful. They got to get out. You can't get out of the gate without the fob.
Yeah, you got to leave. But anyway,
no. But I think you can learn to be a closer, right? I mean, any one of these guys, especially the younger ones,
be groomed.
Robert Garcia. Now he's lefty.
He is a lefty.
And that doesn't mean he can't be a closer.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, one just got elected to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
lefty
that's right.
Closer. But also a couple other guys signed. Tommy Canley signed with your Detroit Tigers. Yes. $7.5 million. I thought that was another one that kind of might fit. Anyway, Bruce Brasher, Bruce asks, is Hale an NRI this year? He sure is. Intriguing arm, especially if he gets better shape to his slider. Yeah, Hales is going to be. He was one of the 11 internal invites to camp, so I'm going to guess he's probably there right now. They had a mini camp last week, and I bet he just stayed out there. They can live for free in the village and then just work out with the coaches who are there and have eyes on them, and have some catchers and kind of feel like it's official and
have a little more time to play golf, right?
a little more time,
little
to play
less
golf.
time.
Although,
once
yesterday I checked the weather. The weather yesterday, surprise, was very unpleasant.
Oh, was
It
it?
was like mid-50s and rain.
Oh,
kind of like here, I guess.
yeah.
But I also continued to look, and it's going to be like 80 at one point next week. So I hope they save some of that for my arrival in
2 weeks ish.
Feb 11. Yeah. There have been some cold days here the last couple of springs. So I do not like the cold, especially in a place where it's not supposed to be cold.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, of all things, you don't want to go to Arizona.
Well, like
for
I
cold.
go home to Colorado, like we just went after Christmas, and it's totally a mental thing. We went outside, it was like 30 degrees. I was like, damn, this isn't bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
I was all bundled up. I was like,
Oh.
hey, it's okay out here.
Yeah. 30 when you live there.
Yeah.
30's balmy.
Yeah.
Right. When you live in a colder climate like that. But yeah. Anyway, another thing to talk about, they've done some research on the ballpark that's going to be the home of the Athletics this year.
Good.
Sutter Health Park.
Uh-huh.
Minor league park.
Yeah.
And ostensibly you think, well, minor league park, their ball's going to fly out of there. Not so much.
Okay.
The research they've done thus far shows that it will play very similar. And this is interesting, too, because, the Athletics old ballpark that had 450 different names, it was very close to the water, which affects humidity and affects, the chill in the air and all those things, and affects the ball. It's a much more dry climate out there where Sacramento is, but they feel like atmospherically and all those things, it's going to play very similar to how the old ballpark played.
That's interesting because typically hot and dry, like Phoenix, where the ball flies. Phoenix, though, if I'm not mistaken, Chase Field, I think that's what it's called now. Yeah. Chase Field is the second highest ballpark in elevation in the majors.
Is it really?
Yeah. So, obviously Coors Field is up there, but I don't know much about Sacramento. I think they're called the River Cats.
Maybe, yeah.
But that's not important. I find that pretty interesting. The Pacific Coast League is notorious for being a high scoring hitters league, and so that kind of does surprise me a little bit that's the case.
The
other
thing,
their altitude, 26 feet.
That's the what?
That's the altitude in Sacramento, 26
feet above sea level. Wow.
So maybe that has something to do with it.
Yeah. The other thing about the Arizona hot, dry thing, of course, is how hard the infield gets.
Right.
And it's already hard in March, much less by the middle of summer when that sun's been baking on it at 120 degrees every day. So it's not quite that bad in Sacramento, but you might still get some of that effect, which, again, affects the infielders. It affects, some of those balls that are hit in spring training get on you so fast because of that fast hop.
Mike Maddox calls it the concrete jungle because there are a lot of balls that hit in front of home plate and they end up as doubles. And, so that goes into all the evaluation, and fly balls get lost in the sun there and fall for doubles and end up leading to a bunch of earned runs. It's pretty crazy. Harry, are we going to see any Teodo this spring, and what would it take for him to make the team? He is going to be on the 40-man roster, added in November. So, yes, he will be a big league spring training. He will pitch. I don't expect him to make the team. I think that it would take some injuries, which are always possible, or him just being unbelievable and they're being like, this has got to be a guy in our bullpen. But I think they want to keep him as a starter. You got to have that starter depth, that starting depth, and probably maybe a Jack Leiter or Kumar Rocker doesn't make the team, and so there's some depth. And you have Dane Acker, who's going to be in camp. Depth. Teodo would be in that group as well. Ryan Garcia, Mitch Bratt, I think he may go back to Double-A. You're going to have Winston Santos probably back at Double-A. So that's all part of the depth in case there's an injury or two, and Lord knows there will be. So I would tap the brakes on him making the opening day roster, but I expect to see him this season in the
Yeah, and it's interesting when you talk about keeping him a starter. I totally agree, and I think whenever Chris Young says to us, which he does often, you can never have enough pitching, I really think what he means is you can never have enough starting pitching, right?
Yeah.
Because he's always referencing starters when he says that.
Well, the last time you got to do your close.
Oh, you got to do soft. Gosh, we got to do the soft close. This goes by quick. So, hey, we love you, and we want you to keep checking us out each and every day. We're here every day at noon with the DLLS Rangers podcast. And we're here today at 1 doing it.
The last time we spoke to Chris, which wasn't that long ago, he said you need to have 10 to 12 starters every year. All right, so that gives you 5 in the big league rotation, maybe 2 guys. This year with the inning shortage, 2 starters in the bullpen, 7. So then you need 5 guys at AAA or AA, I suppose. So let's say Leiter, Teodo, Ryan Garcia, Dane Acker, and a 5th could be Santos, Brad.
Maybe, yeah.
Apologize to anybody I'm forgetting. Ben Anderson, who had a pretty decent year at AA. Brother to Ian Anderson, who was a former high Braves draft pick, and I believe is still with the Braves. So you got the starters, but you're talking about guys who aren't in the majors. So maybe Adrian Hauser, who's going to be a non-roster invite in spring training, who's been a pretty good starter at times in his career. Maybe he's this year's Jose Urania.
Okay, yeah.
You never know. But if they want to protect the depth, if there are injuries in spring training, you may see him make the opening day roster. And an optionable starting pitcher, Cody Bradford, Kumar Rocker, Dane Dunning in the minors to start.
And speaking of Jose Urania,
remains a free agent.
Remains a free agent. Wow.
Yeah.
And maybe, you know what? Maybe that bodes well for the Rangers. I mean, now maybe you can get him back here at a cheaper price if, the market didn't really find him, care about him,
it's
whatever.
Pretty interesting. I mean, he had a rebound season. Now, was it enough for him to market himself as a starting pitcher again? I don't know.
Question.
But he was definitely a valuable piece. The Rangers got him on a minor league deal early last offseason, and it turns into a real value play for them. Critical guy who, great shape.
Yeah.
Super nice guy. But yeah, the power stuff over 2 or 3 innings as opposed to 6 or 7 might be the way teams see him now.
Sure. Yeah. So anyway, a little extra for you today. We had to do that because, we had the guest on, Jim Cochrane. We thank him for coming in. Rhonda Burrows, we thank you. She says, I love this show. Such good info. And we love you too, Rhonda. Thank you for checking us out each and every day. We're here every day at noon. Of course, this week there's only one day left. That's tomorrow at noon. We talk Rangers baseball on the DLLS Rangers Podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.